Have you ever looked at your life and thought, wait a minute, wasn't adulthood supposed to be easier than this? Like, because when we're kids, we imagine adulthood very differently. We think that adults know exactly what they're doing. We imagine having a good job, a nice place to live, enough money, great relationships, and complete confidence. Like, we believe that one day we'll wake up and suddenly feel like real adults, but then something funny happens. We grow up and we discover that adulthood is nothing like we imagined. In fact, many adults spend years feeling confused, uncertain, and completely unprepared for what life throws at them. And the strange part is that nobody really talks about it.
That's so true. When I was younger, I used to look at adults and think they had everything figured out. My teachers seemed confident. My parents seemed confident. Even strangers looked like they knew where they were going. I thought adulthood came with some kind of instruction manual. I imagined that one day everything would suddenly make sense. But now that I'm older, I realize that most people are simply doing their best. They're learning as they go. They're making mistakes. They're adjusting their plans. And honestly, that's completely normal.
Today, we're talking about the things nobody tells you about adult life, the truths, the surprises, the struggles, the lessons, and some of the things that almost everyone discovers much later than they expected. So grab a coffee, get comfortable, and let's talk about adulthood.
One of the biggest shocks of adulthood was realizing that many people are much less certain than they appear. When I got my first office job, I was terrified. I remember walking into the building on my first day. Everyone looked professional. Everyone looked confident. Everyone looked experienced. And I remember thinking, oh no, they've made a mistake hiring me. Have you ever felt that way?
Absolutely. I think almost everyone experiences that feeling at some point. There's even a name for it, imposter syndrome. You look around and assume everyone else knows exactly what they're doing. Meanwhile, you're secretly wondering if you're completely lost. I remember my first serious job. I was sitting in meetings with people who seemed incredibly smart. They used complicated business terms. They talked confidently, and I spent weeks feeling intimidated. Then something happened. I started having real conversations with them, and I discovered that many of them felt uncertain too.
That's one of the funniest discoveries of adulthood. You realize that confidence and certainty are not the same thing. Many people look confident because they've learned how to keep moving forward even when they're unsure.
Exactly. The older I get, the more I realize that nobody has everything figured out. Not your boss, not successful entrepreneurs, not celebrities, not even the people you admire most. Everyone is learning, everyone is adapting, everyone is making mistakes. Another thing nobody tells you about adulthood is how difficult it becomes to maintain friendships. When you're young, friendships happen naturally. You go to school together, you see each other every day, you spend hours talking without planning anything, but adulthood changes everything.
I noticed that too. One of my best friends moved to another state after college. At first, we promised we'd talk all the time, and we really meant it. But then work became busy. Life became busy. Responsibilities started growing. And suddenly, weeks turned into months.
It's strange how quickly that happens. I remember having a large group of friends when I was younger. Now, I have fewer friends, but the friendships I still have feel much deeper.
I think adulthood teaches us that quality matters more than quantity. When you're younger, you often focus on having lots of friends. As you get older, you start appreciating people who truly support you. The people who answer your phone calls, the people who show up when things get difficult, the people who genuinely care.
Let's talk about money because this is a lesson that surprises many people. When we're young, we often think money will solve all our problems, and honestly, it does solve some problems. Financial stability matters a lot.
Definitely. Having enough money to pay your bills and feel secure is important. But adulthood teaches you something interesting. Money can improve your life, but it doesn't automatically create happiness.
I once worked with a guy who earned a fantastic salary, beautiful apartment, luxury car, expensive vacations. From the outside, his life looked perfect. But one day during lunch, he told me something I'll never forget. He said, I have everything I thought I wanted, and I'm still not happy.
Wow, that's powerful. And honestly, I've met people with much less money who seem genuinely content because they had meaningful relationships, good health, purpose, peace of mind. One of the most emotional lessons of adulthood is realizing that your parents are human beings, not superheroes, not perfect people, just people.
I had that realization in my late 20s. I was talking with my father one evening, and for the first time, he told me about some of the fears he had when he was younger. I was shocked because growing up, he always seemed confident, strong, certain.
It's interesting, isn't it? As children, we see our parents from one perspective. As adults, we begin to understand them differently. We realize they had dreams, fears, mistakes, challenges, just like us.
If there's one thing adults constantly talk about, it's time, because nobody warns you how quickly it starts moving.
It's unbelievable. When you're 10 years old, summer feels endless. When you're 30, you blink and suddenly another year is gone.
I remember thinking that 40 years old sounded ancient. Now, I know people in their 40s who are starting businesses, changing careers, learning languages, and completely reinventing themselves.
That's another thing nobody tells you. You're never as late as you think you are. People often believe they need to accomplish everything by a certain age, but life doesn't work that way. So, after all these years, what do you think the real secret of adulthood is?
Honestly, I don't think adulthood is about having all the answers. I think adulthood is learning how to live with uncertainty, because life never stops changing. There will always be new challenges, new opportunities, new decisions, new lessons.
I love that. And maybe maturity isn't knowing everything. Maybe maturity is continuing to move forward even when you don't know everything.
Exactly. Learning, growing, adapting, trying again. That's adulthood.
If you're listening right now and sometimes feel lost, confused, or uncertain about your future, you're not alone.
Most adults feel that way at some point. The truth is that nobody has life completely figured out, and that's okay.
Keep learning, keep growing, keep moving forward.
And remember, we're all figuring it out together. Thanks for listening.
We'll see you in the next episode.